Imagine this, you work hard, you stay in while everyone's going out so that you can save a bit more, and you finally have enough to buy your first home. You put in a good offer, only to be outbid by someone who doesn't even live in this country. It's a situation many first home buyers are facing right now. And that's why, if I'm the next Prime Minister, I will work to ban foreign investors and temporary residents from buying existing homes for 2 years. This will give young people a fair shot at owning their first home. With housing affordability worse than ever, it's time to prioritise Australians who are working hard to get into the market. It's simple. We'll make sure homes are for those who need them the most, Australians.
Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. As you have just seen at the beginning of this video, I have played the opposition leader Peter Dutton's a little short message to all the Australians, which sounds very good, very compassionate, and passionate for all the young Australians to actually own their own home. Well, that's a very good way to do things, but is that the only way to solve housing crisis? Is another thing that I also wanted to discuss in this video, because every time when it comes to elections, the migrants is always at the target from both sides of the parties. So I've seen and witnessed Labor did it, and obviously we have just experienced that with our Minister of Home Affairs, Claire O'Neill, or former Minister, and now the Minister of Housing, how they been so destructive to the industry. Now, I've also seen that in the past from the former governing party, the LNP back then was Scott Morrison. They did the same thing as well when they tried to win the vote. Back in 2000, I believe that was 2019. They accused the migrant as well for all the major congestions in Sydney, Melbourne, all the cities. Now, is it really the problem to the migrant? Would the idea to buy and ban foreign investors and migrants, so temporary visa holders will be all the migrants, to actually invest and purchase real estate property in Australia actually solve the problem? Well, probably it will. But I doubt if that could come into actual implementation, because I also know a lot of developers. I also know a lot of construction companies, and certainly all these real estate property projects will have some sort of percentage of foreign investors and the buyers, migrants. Now, if we got to cut those percentage out, I'm not too sure how these construction companies and developers will actually react towards the government of Australia. I don't think they will be too happy, especially they have experience with the inflation, the costs of the material, and a lot of the developers actually collapsed in the last 2 years. And now if they try to do this, that means, are you really helping the housing industry, and that including the developer and the construction companies? Or are you putting more burdens on the construction company? And because if there's no business, there's no labor, there's no work. If there's no business, there's no work. Then how do you solve the housing crisis there? Now, so was the other party, Labor Party. They are now splashing the money everywhere just to construction, social housing, and all that. I believe that if they were to step down and the Liberal Party will come back as a governing party for next year, there will be some sort of amount of cash to be used and given to the industry as well. But the problem still comes, where do you find these construction workers? Haven't we seen so many medias and news articles told about there's not enough skilled workers in Australia just to facilitate the requirement for construction industry, and that's to solve the so-called housing crisis, right? So that's still the key. So is the migrants the problem to housing, or the migrants is the resolution, to the actual housing crisis. So it's questionable. Now, I have another thoughts. I think that will actually help to facilitate and to actually resolve the housing crisis. There is to I noticed there has been the short-term rental. Airbnb has been so popular in the past few years. Now, why don't they just, instead of banning and bar the foreign investors, why don't they ban and bar Airbnb, banning and bar the short-term rental? I know there's countries, for example, like Japan, they ban, for Airbnb, the short-term rental. So why don't the government do that too? I believe if they are to do that, all the rental market flows back to all the long-term rentals, and the requirements will drop, and then obviously that will solve a lot of housing issues there. And obviously the dramatic increase of housing prices will come to a halt. Then everything will come back to a point where that's the goal, that the young Australians who work hard may have a dream to actually own a home, rather than being competing with the foreign investors and buyers, right? But I don't think the government of Australia, any party, would have the courage to actually do that. Why? First of all the politicians owns multiple properties. Obviously, they want this property to make money. Otherwise, why would they own multiple properties? And secondly, there's so many Australians utilizing the property to make money as well. A lot of the investors, they have 2, 3, or 4, 5 properties. Obviously, they want this property to actually have a better yield rate. That means a higher rental prices. So short-term rental is the beauty, because Australia is a continent, is a country that has a lot of tourism, that welcome a lot of tourists coming to Australia. So short-term rental is definitely the one to actually allow them to make a lot of cash and income. Now the problem comes, if they are to bar and ban short-term rentals, I don't think that party will actually win the elections, right? So how are they going to do it? That they now redirect the target towards the migrants. Why? Because the skilled migrant doesn't have the right to vote. Even if they're angry, even if they're so mad. So how many of you viewers have leave the comment, and with all the madness, what had been happened, what had been promised? For example, the Labour government had given out a promise to give 4 or 5 years of work, the temporary graduate visa. Now they have dropped it back, and they will even drop the age requirement from 50 down to 35. That had caused so much problem, but they don't seem to care. Why? Because the migrants do not have the vote right. So every time they come to elections, migrant will always become the target. Now that's the same in USA, as you can see, where we're gonna witness another history of USA elections next week. But anyhow, let's come back to Australia. That is the key to the problem, and I don't think any of the Australian politicians will have the guts to actually do what I have coined out the idea to be, to ban and bar the short-term rental. I don't think they're going to do it, but if they do that, that will certainly solve the problem. Anyway, should you have more question query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.